Hey there, my friends. How are you doing? I am attempting to once again bring nourishment to someone, bring encouragement to someone, and just talk. A few weeks ago, I heard the revelation. We're calling them reveals. God revealed to me, He says, I don't get old, Duran. And the reason I realized he said that to me, and I began to have that reoccurring thought, I don't get old, he doesn't get old, was that he was saying, you got to trust me where you are and let me give you revelation as to where you are. And all you got to do is understand the issues are still the same. You just stuck in a way that you've done it before. And you may be trying to live out some old revelations, but you must trust me now. I'm 54. And I realized and listen, getting old is not for the faint at heart. And I realized that there are experiences that I had years ago that are now experiences that contributed to who I am right now. And so I had to make a choice that I was going to stop being judgmental observant, meaning I was going to stop judging everything that I heard and being said and accept what is God saying to me right now out of this person. And because I had a habit, I've been a person who's given to study. Sometimes I would watch a news show or something after I've read the periodicals and just understood what was going on in the world. I would read that, but then I would go ahead and say, let me see what main media version is about this same news. And that's when I came to a conclusion that the majority of these news shows are scripted. And because I'm a playwright, I can tell when they're hitting the same points. And because I several weeks ago, I'm talking about this is maybe 2-3 months ago, or 4 months ago, I was having trouble with my memory. Once I started watching the program, I'd have to watch it all the way, and then I watch it again 40 minutes later or so to see if I could catch up on what they said. And then that's when I realized, wait a minute, they're saying the same thing every half an hour. And I realized that I was being invited in an argument that they were having with certain people who were sitting at home watching them while they were talking. And it wasn't me. It was with the power at B, the authority, the person they were trying to unseat from popularity, and that they were repeating it. And then I got to the point I started getting mad. And then finally I said, Deron, why are you having this highly agitated inner conversation about a reality that you've always seen that exists and you've learned even more? And are you now going to put your time where it needs to be? Because I realized that in advertising, they have to be able to get you to come back. As soon as I said it, I thought about and coming back right after, and they start off, and we're going to do this, and we're going to talk about that, and then what's going to happen? We're going to show you the very cute squirrel that jet skis at the end of the production, but at the end of the show. And so they would say something like they told me, you know, so that you can not go infertile, will tell you about what's happening with males and bikes. Well, males and bikes, what are y'all talking about? Well, that they got me to ask the question. And then after I asked the question, I watched the whole show, only to find out when you ride on a bike, if you don't have it padded, if you don't have a cushioned seat, it's a possibility that it could affect your fertility. Well, listen, for me, it didn't matter because I wasn't trying to have no babies. And I wasn't trying to go there. But at the same time, I found myself getting upset. So if I saw a person that I won't mention their name because I don't want them to have any part of my moment that talking about this, I would see his eyes and I'd get upset. Why? Because I spent my entire last 35, 40 years having to deal with liars. So I can look in certain eyes and see this person doesn't have truth in them or they have deception. And I had so many bitter encounters with people at times because my life was a fishbowl, and people, they think that I call them couch preachers, couch ministers. They sit at bedtime Baptists and call out things, but they weren't doing it themselves. And then they would have these discussions directly after a service or something. And I just got insecure. And so I realized that the show that they had me, I just told my moms this, they had me for a year or so. I was watching it. And then I started saying, Deron, you are fighting for your life. What profit does this information have for you? And I had to say, I don't have to hear this 5 different ways. I know what time it is. And this is when I understood. I said, God, I got to make a choice. And my choice is this. I've got to choose peace of mind. And because I would watch it, and then because I'd probably be up a little earlier than Jill, or she would get up and I would move because I couldn't stand movement in the bed. And I would go to her after I read the periodicals and had my quiet time. And then I try to talk to her about what I just saw on the news. And then that created this antagonistic atmosphere between us. And then so it was probably a few weeks ago that I told Jill, I said, Jill, this choice, and she actually, we were teaching on peace. I said, this choice that I am being oppressed by is seduction. And what these people are doing on the news and what is happening with our children and the young people and everybody, we have all been seduced. And we have all become susceptible to the charms. And this is why a lot of the shows now are repulsive in the sense that the kids don't have to, there's no such thing per se with a lot of people in this culture, consequences. And so these are the truths that I learned for myself, and then I would have to help certain people who were having very erratic, challenging relationships with people that they loved, but they couldn't seem to get past certain things. And so I tell them there's a first phase when it comes to seduction. And you've been seduced. This is why you're staying with somebody and you can't walk away. Or this is why you are, and listen, I am just talking truth. I am not telling you what to do. Consult your doctor, consult your physician, consult your sociologist, consult your psychiatrist, consult your social worker, but do not so-called blame me for just speaking the truth of what is. I don't even know your situation. So I can't even talk about what's going on. So if you start feeling something, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Phase one is separation. When someone is going to seduce you, they stir interest and desire. Their goal is to study you and then stir it so they can get your attention. And what is happening, and when they look for the right victims, they fill a void. They are often isolated or unhappy, or can easily be made so victimized that many of us, we don't understand. We're not impossible to seduce. And so the goal is to get into my emotions. And I did the message called Passive Masters, where many of us have become professionals at being passive aggressive people. And in us being passive aggressive, we tend to be in a place where we are seducing people so we can get our objective or goals accomplished. I'm seeing some men who have lovely wives who are controllers. And when you seduce, your goal is to establish your control. And their wives are left optionless because they've captured their wives' emotion and their wives' minds, and they need their wives to do their bidding so that they can feel comfortable about themselves. So now, I told this one person one day, you don't pay attention to the seductive maneuvers that are made to position you to carry out their will, the seducer's will. And the goal of the seducer is to create a false sense of security, to get you to trust. That's why they call them con artists. The goal of the con artist is to make you not be able to see the con and believe they have what you need so that you can give them what they want. And I realized that many of us, we follow for the con. And for me, I was falling for the con. I'll never forget, I was younger, and I think I was about 14 or 15. I think I was 15. And this is how he talked. I'm out there working on my moped, getting it together, trying to work it out. And this older dude came down the street. He says, "What's happening with you, bro? What's going on? What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get my moped going." And he said, "Yeah, you know, did you work on this? And did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I did some of that." He says, "Let me tell you something. Let me ride it. I'm going to show you how to be able to keep this going and what you need to do." Needless to say, he got my confidence, and I gave him my bike to 60 minutes. Now, this was back in the day, so it wasn't a whole bunch of places he was going to go with that moped, because I was in a very hilly neighborhood at that point. It had a lot of hills. But I felt so bad because I sat out there and it took him forever to come back. By the time I called the police to find out what was going on, they actually came back and said, we found your moped. And is this guy in the back of the car, is he the one that did it? And I said, yes, that's him. Well, I want you to understand, he got my confidence. A con artist's job is to get your confidence. And if I get your confidence, then you will follow my plan. The seducer sends mixed signals. They say yes, but their body language says no. And I found out that they learn how not to answer the question. You can ask them a question and they answer what you're not saying because they're 4 steps ahead of you because they're trying to take you to a certain place. Fear must be put into your mind of what happens if I walk away from you. You ain't gonna make it. And the seductor's goal sometimes is to instill fear and intimidation in your heart. So if you make a decision, you'll feel like you're going to get payback. So now I'm ready to go to, let me get one more truth. See, I've been in a place where I was trying to teach, even like I'm doing right now. I'm not thinking about anybody in particular. I ain't got anybody I'm thinking about. But I remember I used to try to teach. And then sometimes I said, if I could just hit them back with a shot, they would understand. I had, Jay Cameron told me this when we finally talked once. This is probably two years ago. And I was really in the different parts of my trial. And he told me, D, you would call me out publicly from the pulpit. And I had to tell him, I apologize. But during that time, I was trying to control the environment. And I would say certain things in hopes that you would listen and that you would not deal with me like this, or we would not do that. It's manipulation, because that's not what a minister is called to do. But I learned that if you're going to control the church, then you're going to have to control the mindset of those influencers. And you've got to have key battles with them. The whole goal was to enter their spirit. So, switching right now. There's an art to this. Let me get to it right here. Thank you. The last time I did a post or whatever I'm doing right now, I'm doing it to say, when you deal with passive aggressive masters, people who know how to move you without using aggression or detectable aggression. I just thought about this brother who moved out of the country. And he moved out of the country to another country because he wanted to change his environment. But the real deal is he was upset with his wife, and he decided the only way I'm going to be able to get free from this is to move to another country. And she had a physical condition where she needed help, but he didn't care. He went and he did that anyway. And I couldn't believe that he had done this. So when you grow up or you are raised or you are reared or taught by people who are angry and have not dealt with their own anger, they will get back at you in ways that will make you think, what did I say? What did I do to create this situation? And then that's when you get to the point where you realize people ask, are you mad? And you say, oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. Just me saying it with that high pitch shows that it's not true. And I think I said it the last time, but I'll say it again. I called my mother after a production. And when I called my mother to see if she saw it, I was ready to, this is years ago now. My mother and I, we just got off the phone laughing because there's no bitterness and there's no ill will between us. And my mother loves me. But it was a time during that time that she was loving me and she was trying to tell me, and she was right. Sometimes when I went and did a production and the audience was out there, they would make comments and all this kind of stuff. And I'd have to dial the energy up just to be able to hold their attention, which caused me to curse and be street. Now, I'm not talking about some of the lines I had put profanity in some of the lines because I wanted to talk about what Jill and I was experiencing when it came to arguments and how I would be cursing and she would curse, and we were believers. But we did not have control over our emotions, and it would just get real ghetto in the house. And I decided I was watching, I can't think of the woman's name. She played in the Richard Pryor movie. What's her name? Richard Pryor did a movie and she was very strong. It was Richard Pryor. I can't think of even the black man. Please bear with me. It was another guy who was his friend. I can't think of him. He did the Arsenio Hall. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the memory. Richard Pryor and Arsenio Hall did a movie. And there was a woman in that movie where she was going back and forth with Richard Pryor and everybody because she was Delarice. Thank you. She would go for it. And she's a minister, but she would go for it. But I also learned that she was showing, they use these parts to show you realness. But she didn't lose her anointing in being able to help people and do what needed to be done. So I learned to say I agree and not really agree because I didn't want to fight anymore. Well, when you're dealing with someone who is a seducer and a controller, they give you this anger. So I've seen these brothers and I've seen sisters lose it with their children to get their children to do. I watched the Roxanne Shante movie, Roxanne, on Netflix. And she did Shantae's Revenge. When she started rapping at 13 years old, or not started, but she started battling people about 13 years old, maybe 14. And I grew up listening to this person, listen to her. Well, they said she's finally got her just due, what she deserves. Meaning people are recognizing how much she contributed to this hip hop movement. And understanding balance. And we often go to salt and pepper, but to be perfectly honest, she was one of the first females that established what it meant to be a female. And she said, I chose to do it like the men. And when she did it like the men, she went back and told them that she lived in Brooklyn and she knew how to fight in the words. And she was battling people. Everybody wanted to battle her. Women wanted to battle her. Men wanted to battle her. And she would put them to rest verbally. So here's how I was passive aggressive with Jill. And I thank God for my wife, because I told my mother today, I'm loved. She's consistent. I look up, she come around the corner, she got a little beautiful hands and she's holding it like this. And I already know. Yeah, and I go into her hand. But now watch this. She came, but each time she came to me, I had an attitude because I didn't want to be told what to do by her. But then God showed me, Duran, you're pouting, you're sulking. She's trying to talk to you and you moving all around, you typing stuff down, you're doing all this. And so the way I would get out of a conversation, I would withdraw with it because I would not have a confrontation. And I needed her to see that I'm feeling bad. I'm going through. I'm just, I don't like what's happening. And I'm thinking about a few people that I've heard sulking. And I would pout. And then she'd look and I'd be like, no, I'm good. We can talk. But the real deal, I was punking out. And in punking out, I understood that if I shared how I feel, she would out-talk me and it would be over. But today I understand, if I'm in tune with God's spirit and I pray and I seek peace, I won't change. I mean, I won't go into that foolishness. And so I seek peace and I seek her peace. How do I seek her peace? We had some kind of almost argumentative thing the other day, and I turned the news on and she decided I'm going upstairs. Well, I wanted to get mad because I wanted her company. But I said, let her go, Duran, and you stay right here and do what you have to do. And then as I prayed, I said, how do you show her peace? At some point, I got up, went upstairs to our bedroom, and I said, sweetheart, let me tell you something. I want your peace. Forgive me for not understanding. You've been through a lot today. And I want you to know I love you and I thank God for you. And I should not huff and puff when you're bringing my medication. And you have shown me that you love me. You've shown me. And you remember the vow that we have shared with one another. And you keep it going and you're consistent despite my attitudinal problems. And I decided I'm not going to carry this into tomorrow because I cannot be a master of passive aggressiveness. When you are a passive master, you procrastinate by putting things off that you need to get done. And there were things that I needed to do and that we need to do, but you just don't do it. It can have to do with the children. It can have to do, with the children. It can have to do with their homework. It can be, it can have to do to help them with their science project. I remember one time Talita needed help and she didn't tell us until Sunday that she had to turn in her report. And I wanted to go home and watch my news. And what we had to now spend some time in the car, Jill and I talking to Talita to help her understand the project she had to do. And I was upset. And she was 13, she was 14, she was 14, 15. And I was getting upset because I had to change my schedule. Today, that don't happen. It doesn't happen. Why? Because I had to stop projecting on Talita so I could feel good about myself. And not put off her projects because I needed something to hold on to. When you rely on passive procrastination, it becomes your way to frustrate people and get out of certain activities. This is why it says in Proverbs, don't send a sluggard to go do your work for you, because they will make decisions. And many of us, we become so caught up with the lion in the road that was mentioned in Proverbs that we fail to see that, no, this is crazy. Now, my mother would probably disagree with this, but I just spoke with my sister and we were going down memory lane and remembering that my father was in the bathtub. He was taking a bath. This was back in District Heights. I had to be about 17. And I had to be about 17 because my sister, I'm 5 years older than her. And so he was in the bathtub because he was trying to soak his back or soak something. And he was sitting in the tub. But you know, that bath water gets cool. So my father was sitting in the tub and they were conversing, not conversating. That's not a word, conversing. My mother and father was conversing. And my mother, what she would do is heat water up on the stove and put it in the tub to make the water warmer. This time she decided to heat the water up and pour it into the tub while my father was in it. And I'm here to tell you, my sister, we have a truth or a story we tell each other because my father levitated out of the tub. Oh, God, what is going on, Cookie Carol? What are you doing? And he was naked, so he levitated in the bathtub. And my mother's like, I'm sorry, Eric. Today, I tell you, she played the role back then, but she was pissed with him. She was upset. And she was being passive aggressive because he levitated. And then my sister reminded me, and then he has to climb out the bathtub naked. And he climbs out the bathtub and he starts crawling to his bedroom, butt naked. And he said, I'm sorry, but he's saying, I can't believe. He said, and then so Cherie says, Dad, what's wrong with you? He says, your mother is trying to kill me. And I said, Cherie, she was angry. And that was her way of getting back. And Cherie said, my sister said, my mother will never admit it, but I know it to be true. It was passive aggression. She had to figure out a way. How do I shut him down? Now they love each other. To this day, they jumping off zip lines. They walking on beaches, sitting on beaches. When I say zip lines, my mother, she did a zip line. I couldn't believe she did it. My sister sent me the video. And I said, she got more courage than me because I ain't getting up on that zip line no more. I'm done. I learned. I've been thinking about it, jumping out the airplane, but I'm not doing it. I lost weight and everything. Meaning I got my body in shape. I lost the weight because at one point I was too big to even put on the parachute and all that kind of stuff. So in order to jump out and have somebody attached to me, I'd have to lose weight. Needless to say, I haven't jumped out of an airplane, and it ain't important to me now. And I'm sure with some it is probably important to you, but I wasn't doing it. Well, my mother and them, they're living their life and they are great friends. And they go back and forth in terms of love and all of this stuff because they taught me. And I learned that when you get older, that's when all these lessons become useful. So let me get to this part right here. And then I think the last time I was with you all, I said, when you become passive aggressive, you pretend to be sick. You pretend. I had my bedroom in the basement when I was younger, and I would hide between my bed and the wall. So my parents, when they got up to go to work and do what they had to do, they would think that I left, but I was hiding because I didn't want to go to school. One, because I didn't want to deal with the long bus ride and all these different things. And I pretend to be sick. When you're passive aggressive, you tend to put people down. You tend to say critical things so that you can get them back. So I'm going back to seduction. There it is. The goal of the seducer is to keep you in limbo. And if I keep you in limbo, then what I have done is I have achieved disarming you. And when you're a seducer, you say things to get your way. I had somebody recently tell somebody I love to call the police on this person because the person didn't get permission to come by the house. And I had to tell this person, you probably figured out it was Jill, cut all the conversation out with this situation because this person is trying to use our energy, your energy, to keep us distracted. And at one point, this person had seduced us into believing that she was a very loving person. But the truth of the matter was, she was doing things and saying things to get our confidence. And I got to the point where I said, I'm not thinking about that anymore. Because the goal of the controller is to make you think about them, not yourself. And I said, lose the conversation, Jill. Let's not have any more conversations because this person is trying to have an engagement and get our attention. And it was hard on my spirit, but it was also good for my spirit. And it was good for my wife's spirit because we understood that when this pandemic and all these things have gone down, people have become desperate. And in them being desperate, they're desperate for attention. They're desperate to be paid attention to. And we had to make a decision to cut ties and allow God to do what he was going to do. But we had to take our lives back to ourselves. And we feel better. I got one more, I think. I had this person who was a very good person to me, but they are such a liar that when they talk, they speak lies. If you ever remember the guy, Jim Carrey, I think his name is, the guy who played, I think it's Jim Carrey. He played in Truman. Thank you, Jim Carrey. He played in the movie called Truman. He too learned that in the movie he played in as Liar, he understood that people told lies to manipulate him. And he told lies to manipulate people. And then one time, somebody came into the bathroom while he was in the court, because he was in court and he was a lawyer, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he was in the bathroom because he was upset with what just went down in the courtroom. And he was in the bathroom, and one of the other lawyers walked into the bathroom while he was there, and he was punching himself in the face, hitting his head on the counter and the mirror and all this stuff. And the guy says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm kicking my own apple." He was so upset, he was kicking his own self. And that's what happens when you allow yourself to be seduced. You begin to beat yourself up for being such a player and participant in this manipulation. And I'll end with this, and hopefully I've blessed you in some way, which I'm sure God has. I went to go meditate, and part of my meditation was to take myself to a place where I had peace and look up. I went to a pond that was calm in my imagination. And when I got to that pond, I was told to look up in the sky and see the tree branch coming over the pond, leaning over the pond. And I would see a leaf, and I would visualize a leaf falling out of the tree and twisting. And it would fall to the top of the water on the pond. And when it did, there would be like a tunnel of water that was turning. And when it fell in that water, the water would swallow it up. And I'm talking about this like I've seen it, guys. But I did in my mind's imagination. And this particular time, I went to go do the meditation. And I got upset when this person asked me to envision this and envision that, because I realized I was more angry with a seducer, a passive aggressive person, than I was in trying to be in communication with my creator. And I realized that instead of thinking on what and meditating on what I wanted, I was meditating on what I didn't want. And what these master passives do is get you to meditate on them and think about them. And I had to learn the lesson. And I looked what I learned, and I said, Jill, it's about what you want, not what you don't want. And when you start praying and you start talking to people and you begin to talk about what you don't want, you're putting that primitive, dominant in your thinking space. And wisdom said to me, do you want peace, or do you want to be irritated with this passive aggressive person? And I said, no, I want peace. Then it says, then pray for what you want, not what you don't want. Don't bring it to life. And I realized that this person who had done this with other people, this was their MO. To not answer questions, to not respond, to not call you, to not communicate with you, and then get you to go off by making you think that you've lost your mind because you're not making sense. So my prayer was, what do I want? I want peace. Then I'm going to believe God for peace. And I found it. This was a year ago when I had the vision. And let me tell you something. I did prayer, and I realized how messed up I was. And I had become. I went outside. I went out to the living room, and I said, Jill, sit down with me. And she held my hand. And I cried out. And I said, baby, I need you to pray, and we'll work it out. And I told her, I said, I'm praying for what I don't want, but not praying for what I want. And I said, I'm having a hard time keeping my thoughts together. Now, some of it was due to medication. Some of it was due to the stuff that was affecting my brain and everything. But I learned through this trial, you can even choose to overcome that. That's why I was able to think about that woman who was in that movie with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. Because I learned that you can recall if you practice on it. And I've had to practice on my memories. I'm looking for my notebook. Like, let me do this. Whew. This is the book that my wife bought for me. It is Work Hard, Stay Humble, Be Kind, Take a Leap. And to be true, and I'm only going to be a couple more minutes, my friends. To be true, I wrote down what I want. What do you want from life? I want to be filled. Now, I haven't read this in about 3 days. You have to, I don't know, what do I want from life? I want to be filled with breath of life, and with the breath of life and revelation. I want peace of mind and deliverance from anxiety, because the medication made me feel very anxious at times. I want God to sustain me and Jill and give one another and give another dose of strength, anointing, and insight. This is my prayer. Give Jill, my best friend, and I unity, creations, and increase us to thrive in these hard times, and the ability to cope with many adjustments. Now, I had made a decision. If you write it down and you read it, it will become personal to your spirit. I want good health and the motivation to exercise and give my best. I had to make a decision. I'm not going to be sidelined by the coronavirus. I'm not going to sit here and allow myself not to exercise. If you could see, I got an exercise bike in front of me, and I had to practice strengthen my legs and getting up because my muscles started to atrophy for the year or so that I was not active as I was going through the first stages of my medical trial. I don't know if I said this, I want good health and the motivation to exercise and give my best. Yeah, I just said that. I want full access to my memories and the strength to recall info when needed. I'm about to tear because those prayers have been answered. There was a time I couldn't remember things. And I still have challenges here and there. But if I still my soul and I become still, I can go into the crevice of my memory and pull out information that'll help me understand. You can make it through this, Duran. You can make it through this too. Let me give you one. I think I got about two more. I want a stronger relationship with my creator. I want protection for my daughter and the ability to be here for her. This is what I was feeling just a few days ago, because this is what, several days ago, but this is what I wanted. And the ability to be here for her. Dreams to be filled with God's spirit and cosmic presentations. Right now, because I'm living these truths, when I sit down and do this post, this is not me just doing this to be seen. I'm doing this to put myself in the space of practice and understand I may have been limited by some of the physical disabilities that I experienced, but God does not get old. Oh, here's one, right? This is the last one. I tend to trail off in speech, which is evidenced by the dictation I try to do in the devices. What was happening is that some of the times, instead of me texting, I attempted to dictate the message to the phone or to the iPad or something, and it would get my language. But then I noticed with the words that I was saying, it was misinterpreting the words and misspelling them or hearing the wrong things. But I understood that I would say something like this and then trail off. And I understood that I would say, I want direction. I thought I said direction, But I said, I want direction. And my spirit is knee deep. I was not finishing the words. So I had to give myself my own speech lessons. And I'm still doing it as I speak. And not be distracted when I have memory problems. People, you can do this. What are you going through? What are you angry about? What are you more controlled about? What are you more about than being controlled? Are you more about being in control of people, or are you more about trying to control your spirit? Right now, what I want you all to understand is that I'm practicing being able to bring love and help to someone, along with myself, and to help you be balanced. I thank God for you. People ask me, can you see that I posted while you were talking? I don't see nobody's name. I don't see anybody's post. I'm just talking from the top of my head. Call me Roxanne Shantae Man. Because I'm talking off the top of my head and looking at certain notes and saying, God, help me. If you're passive aggressive, know this, you have to ask God to break that from you and ask God to give you the ability to share how you feel and not pretend and put up false presentations. My prayer is that you will find the love of Yahweh. You will find the love. You can call him Allah. You can find the love of God, and you will know your why and your purpose as to why you're doing what you do. And once you learn your purpose, as Jill told me today, she reminded me of a quote that I said a long time ago and studied, Viktor Frankl. If you know the why, you can do anything. If you know the why of something, you can do anything. And when she said it today, I was like, who the hell is Viktor Frankl? I said, oh, I know him. In fact, I'm going to reread some of his stuff because I haven't read it in a while. But I'm just glad that I'm motivated. Now, let me say this to you. My sister told me that there was a woman named Daphne that was praying for me. And my sister said, we saw you on Wednesday. And she said, when she saw you, she got tearful. And she said, he looked so good. And she said, this is the prayer that I had been praying for him, that he would be able to recapture his call. And she said she started crying when she saw it. And I told my sister, you're going to have to stop because I'm about to cry now because people are praying for me. And I'm grateful for it. And I haven't seen this woman in 16 years, 17 years, probably longer than that. But she was going before the Lord and she was praying for me, my strength. So Daphne, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for your prayers. I thank you for your intercession. And yes, I feel good. And it felt good to know that your love was still as strong. And you were a strong woman of God back then. But now when I hear that you were praying for me, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank your sister, your mother, and everything you all had to endure. Thank you. And thank you for being friends with my sister. Much love. That's where I'm at. I had to get some help in running this broadcast. May God bless you. I love you and I beat you to it. That's what that sign language thing is. And once again, I pray that I was able to connect with someone and I was able to say the things that needed to be said. God bless you. I'm going to get off this presentation now. Let's go ahead and stop this. Thank you. KidsEatFreeNow.com. We just did a food drop giveaway. And I want you to know that KidsEatFreeNow.com and Soldiers Outreach, we're having to bring all kinds of food in because things have gotten even tighter. And I pray that you can go to soldiersoutreach.com, sow a seed. You go to KidsEatFreeNow.com. You can go to the Amazon, and we have a page that you can go to and see what is needed so that we can continue to move and do what we got to do. I love you, but God loves you more. Will he bless you and keep you? Bring me back up, please. Hey, listen, y'all. This is the time. I never thought that I'd see it this way. We all went to zero at the same time, and everybody's being affected by this plague that is on the earth right now. I pray that you're able to find financial assistance, that you're able to get help, that you're able to give, that you're able to also become a more loving person. And I pray that in the same way that God has given me the motivation to reach deep down and give again, that you get the same motivation if you lost it. And for those of you all who have been good to people, continue to be good. God bless you. My name is Deron Cloud, and I've given you the best I could possibly give of myself right now. Pray for my wife. Pray for my family. Thank you. I love you. I'm smiling because I never thought this smile would return. But it's a smile that God gave me. And I thank you. Much love, you all. God bless you. Amen.